So, I've been meaning to make a line of prints for a few months now, and I was finally given the opportunity, or I guess the motivation to do so in my illustration class this semester. We were given a pitch assignment where we could literally make whatever we wanted as long as we pitched it to our professor and he approved it. And instead of going for a more character design driven piece like I would usually do, I decided to make stamps out of linoleum blocks since I've been wanting to design prints for tote bags and stuff. I may or may not have bitten off a little more than I could chew since I decided to make 3 prints in a medium I haven't worked with since high school, but I think everything turned out pretty okay. Before I started carving the designs for this project, I actually did a test carve on a small piece of linoleum since the stuff I was working with was a lot harder than the rubber stamps I made in high school. You might have noticed earlier I was using a hairdryer to warm up the blocks to make them easier to carve. Well, when I was doing the test print, I was really stupid and didn't wear gloves. And I clearly didn't learn my lesson here. And I cut my finger open. It wasn't pretty. I had to run to urgent care 30 minutes before closing so they could glue my finger shut. While I was waiting to get my gloves, I was really stupid again and just decided to start carving anyway, and even though nothing happened this time, it was still dumb. Don't be like me. I eventually did get my gloves, as you see now, but I'm pretty sure the cut on my finger is still gonna scar. This first piece you see here, I think it's so cute. Just a little frog on a mushroom. It's very me. Anyway, it was probably the worst to carve just because of how many tiny details there were. So many lines on the mushroom. So many spots. As much as I hated carving this one, I actually really love how it turned out. You'll see it later, but I put it on a tote bag. Very art school. Usually carving is a pretty therapeutic process, but yeah, okay, so here I am carving out all those little lines. I swear I had to switch back and forth between the same 2 tools like 10 times. It was not fun. And getting all those little spots on the mushroom, okay, that actually wasn't too bad because I could use the same tiny tool for everything. But come on, you get my pain. So I finally finished the frog. You can see me carving out the last little spot there. And something I always do when I'm done carving is use a paintbrush and just go to town on the linoleum blocks. It helps brush out any tiny crusties that might be left over from carving so they don't catch on the ink in the printing process. It probably doesn't make a huge difference, but I still like to do it. This print was probably my favorite to work on. It's a Luna moth on a deer skull. Can you tell we have a foresty theme going on here? Something growth and decay or whatever. I don't know. I just think moths and frogs and mushrooms are cool. There's a reason I'm not a fine arts major. Carving this piece was definitely the most fun. I like doing the really long strokes. There's also that added pressure of if you go too fast, you could carve right through an important detail, but I have fun with it. The antlers were definitely the best part. Because of how many details there were on this one, I kept having to change out the carving nib? Is that what it's called? There were a lot of really tiny crevices to get into, and I absolutely did not want to destroy the moth. I worked way too hard on it. Some of the mushroom details got a little lost in the final print. I also put this one on a tote bag, But considering this was my first time ever printing on fabric, I'm not too mad about it. They weren't the most important details anyway. It wasn't my original plan to have leaves and stuff behind the moth. That wasn't even my original placement either. At first I had the moth sitting on the end of the nose, but my professor said it was a little hard to read. He was right, so we moved it and added some plants behind it for contrast, and it came out really cool. So now I'm actually working in class. It's a little easier there than hunched over my bed or on the floor. My desk was covered. But I was definitely the odd man out, being the only person making a mess with linoleum while everyone else was drawing on their tablets. I'm not like other girls or whatever. Now I'm doing that thing again where I brush all the crumbs out of my stamp. Still don't know how much it actually does for the piece. And finally I'm carving the raccoon. Remember how I said the frog was the worst to carve? I lied. It's the raccoon. There were so many stupid little hairs. Ugh, I hated it so much. And here are all the finished stamps. I think the deer skull is my favorite. My magnum opus or whatever. They're all really cool though. Actually, printing was a lot of trial and error. I'd never printed on fabric before, and I forgot how gooey and gross oil-based paints got. I did several test prints before going for the actual pieces, and I still had to touch them up. But I'm really pleased with the sort of rough quality they have to them. I think it's fun and definitely fits the vibe I was going for overall. I think the deer bags came out the best overall. Maybe I'm a little biased because it's my favorite print, but I also definitely figured out the best way to print them at this point, and I think it shows.